Because while Juneteenth symbolized the end of slavery, it did not ensure freedom, not by a long shot. The post-Civil War era known as Reconstruction often gets short shrift in our history books, but it has urgent lessons for our own time. Among other things, Reconstruction reminds us that progress is not inevitable or self-perpetuating. It was a time of progress and backlash when Americans of African descent briefly served in Congress and state legislatures, but also when white terror groups like the KKK surged in violent resistance to even the prospect of multiracial democracy. And let me clear up some memes you might have seen. Yes, the black legislators were Republicans, members of the party of Lincoln, while the white South was overwhelmingly Democratic at the time, including some members of the KKK. But party labels don't translate apples to apples across the centuries, because Republicans were the moderate progressive party of the time, dedicated to ending slavery, while Southern Democrats were conservative populists, largely rural and rallying around states' rights, defending slavery as an issue of constitutional liberty, while many ex-Confederates refused to recognize their loss by embracing something called lost cause mythology. Now, the influence of these ideas extended beyond the Deep South. Even President Andrew Johnson, a Southern war Democrat who succeeded Abraham Lincoln, reflected many of these positions. He gave amnesty to Confederate leaders, approved of so-called black codes that amounted to slavery without the chains, and vetoed bills designed to move toward equal rights. Johnson vetoed the 1866 Civil Rights Act, saying it was a stride to centralization, while raising the specter of special rights for the former slaves, arguing that the distinction of race and color is by this bill made to operate in favor of the colored and against the white race. Now, if contemporary echoes come to mind, it's also interesting to note the Atlantic described Johnson as being egotistic to the point of mental disease and insincere as well as stubborn. But under Johnson's successor, President Ulysses S. Grant, the 15th Amendment was passed, giving black men the right to vote. For many, though, victory was short-lived as white mob violence, often framed as self-defense to social chains, became widespread, and soon segregation replaced slavery in the South for a century. That's why the tools that were used, voter intimidation, voter suppression, election subversion, resonate to this day. It's also a timely reminder that even rights enshrined in the Constitution can be rolled back if they are not enforced on a local level. Look, every child is born innocent, but every citizen needs to understand the history of our country, the good, the bad, and the ugly.